Let me say this, and I need you to hear it in your soul, not just your ears. Nobody is coming to save you. Not your mama, not your pastor, not your mentor, not your favorite motivational speaker. Nobody. And that's not a tragedy, it's a wake-up call. Because what God put inside of you is enough. You don't need a rescuer. You need a revelation. And the revelation is you already have what you keep looking for. You keep waiting for somebody to tap you on the shoulder and say, now is your time. Let me help you. Now has been your time. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You don't need the crowd to clap. You don't need a handout. What you need is to stop being emotionally addicted to comfort and start being spiritually addicted to growth. See, this generation is drowning in dependence. You're dependent on the likes. You're dependent on the followers. You're dependent on who's watching. And as long as you need applause to move, you'll always be a slave to someone else's timeline. But when you get detached, when you detach from the outcome, when you detach from the noise, when you detach from needing them to validate your value, you become dangerous. The moment you detach is the moment you rise. Some of you are too tangled in feelings, tangled in fear, tangled in fantasies about someone else fixing it. But freedom don't come from fantasy. It comes from focus. It comes from taking ownership of your pain, ownership of your power, ownership of your process. You keep saying it's hard. Of course it is. But growth is never comfortable. You want soft, stay stuck. You want comfort, stay average. But if you want purpose, detach. Detach from excuses. Detach from the pity party. Detach from what they did. What they didn't do, who showed up, who ghosted you. None of that changes your calling. Let me be clear. This ain't about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. Detachment ain't about bitterness. It's about boundaries. Detachment says, I love you, but I won't shrink for you. Detachment says, I see the storm, but I still walk toward my assignment. Detachment says, I may cry, but I will not quit. Stop waiting for a rescue mission when God already gave you the roadmap. Stop waiting for a lifeboat when you are the captain. You don't need saving. You need strategy. And strategy don't start with others. It starts with you. You're praying for doors, but you haven't even stood up yet. You're praying for clarity, but your mind is still cluttered with comfort. Purpose requires pain. And detachment is the scalpel that cuts off the distractions, that quiets the noise, that silences the world so you can finally hear your own voice again. And hear me. You don't need everyone to understand it. They weren't given your vision. They weren't assigned your mission. You've been crying for their help, but maybe God didn't let them show up because he's showing you that you are enough. You're not broken, you're birthing. Just something. To know birthing is lonely. Birthing is painful. Birthing is sacred. You don't need applause in the womb. You just need to push. You've been looking for strength in the wrong places. Strength ain't in the crowd. Strength ain't in the money. Strength ain't in the spotlight. Strength is in the silence. Strength is when you show up when no one sees you. Strength is when you grind in the dark with tears in your eyes and say, I still believe. So let me say it again, and this time let it sink deep. Nobody is coming to save you. And that's good news, because that means nobody can stop you either. When you let go of needing to be saved, you start saving yourself. You start building yourself. You start believing in the version of you that you haven't even met yet. Detach, not to run, not to hide, but to hear, to heal, to hustle, to become. The world doesn't need another victim. It needs a visionary, and that's who you are. So stand up, wipe your face, square your shoulders, breathe deep, and move forward. Not because it's easy, but because you were born ready. Nobody is coming. It's your turn to come for you. You were born with everything you need to overcome. Stop waiting for a rescue and start walking in your own power. From the moment you entered this world, the seed of greatness was already planted in you. You don't need another voice to convince you, another post to inspire you, or another push to get started. The truth is, what you keep searching for outside is already inside. God didn't make you dependent on the world to become what he called you to be. He equipped you. He filled you. He ordained you. But as long as you keep waiting for someone else to throw you a rope, you'll never realize that you were given wings. You keep saying you need help, but the help has already arrived. It's in your breath, your will, your resilience. You're not missing anything but the courage to believe that you're enough. Nobody else can walk your path for you. Nobody else can bear your burden. Nobody else can step into your calling. That's your job. That's your responsibility. And the longer you wait for someone else to fix what's broken, the longer you delay your own freedom. You don't need a rescuer. You need a response, a decision, a fire, a refusal to stay down when life knocks you over. Some people spend years waiting on an opportunity, waiting on someone to co-sign their dream, waiting on conditions to be perfect. But greatness doesn't wait. Power doesn't pause. The ones who rise are the ones who realize that rescue isn't coming. And because of that, they rescue themselves. They rise with a made-up mind. They walk like they already won, even when everything around them looks like defeat. That kind of power can't be given to you. It can only be activated by you. You've been fed a lie that someone else is going to hand you your breakthrough. That one day, the right person will come along and make it all make sense. But let me tell you something. The only one who can do that is you. That pain you feel, that confusion, that heaviness is not meant to break you. It's meant to wake you. And if you stop waiting and start walking, you'll see that every trial was training. Every setback was set up. Every no was making space for a better yes. So stop hesitating. Stop blaming. Stop playing small. There is no cavalry, no magical answer, no moment where it suddenly becomes easy. But there is you, your heart, your spirit, your calling. That's enough. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. You just have to move. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to believe that the same God who started something in you has also given you the power to finish it. You were born equipped, born chosen, born ready. You're not waiting on a miracle. You are one. Walk like it. Emotional detachment from external validation is the beginning of unshakable self-worth. As long as your value is tied to the opinions of others, you'll always be a prisoner to their moods, their acceptance, and their approval. You'll shrink when they disapprove. You'll hesitate when they don't applaud. You'll question your worth every time they stay silent. That's not living. That's performing. And you weren't put on this earth to perform for people who didn't create you. You weren't born to beg for love, for validation, for someone to finally see your worth. Your worth is not a question. It's a truth. And truth doesn't need permission to exist. You can't be free until you stop needing everyone to clap for you. You can't be bold until you stop fearing their silence. And you can't be confident until you stop tying your identity to how they treat you. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're not controlled. It means your peace doesn't rise and fall based on who supports you today or who ignores you tomorrow. It means you show up rooted, steady, whole, because you no longer need someone else to validate the God-given light inside of you. We've been conditioned to believe that we only matter when others confirm it. That success is only real when someone else says so. That beauty is only true when someone else agrees. But real power is when you can look in the mirror, stand in the silence, walk into the room with no spotlight, and still know exactly who you are. That's the kind of power that doesn't shake. That's the kind of power that doesn't panic, because it's not tied to something external. It's anchored in truth. Some of you keep checking your phone, checking your messages, hoping someone will finally tell you what you want to hear. But every time you search for word in a screen, you disconnect from the source that gave you life. You don't need the world to say you're enough. You don't need them to believe in you before you move. You don't need a round of applause to pursue your calling. You just need to decide that their opinion is not your oxygen. Their validation is not your fuel. Their presence or absence doesn't determine your purpose. When you detach from the need for approval, you finally get access to your real power. You become dangerous, not because you're reckless, but because you're focused. Focused people don't need to explain. Focused people don't chase validation. They move with authority. They move with vision. And most importantly, they move with peace. Because peace isn't found in performance. It's found in presence. And when you're present with yourself, you don't need the noise. You don't need the crowd. You don't need the likes. You just need the truth. And the truth is, you were always worthy. Whether they saw it or not, whether they clapped or not, whether they stayed or not, you're still enough. And that's final. Spiritual maturity is forged when you no longer panic in chaos, but find peace in your process. Most people can praise when everything is going right. They can walk with confidence when the road is smooth, the sun is shining, and life makes sense. But true maturity isn't proven in the light, it's tested in the dark. It's in the storm where your foundation is revealed. It's when everything is falling apart around you that you learn what's really inside of you. And if you panic every time things don't go as planned, then it means your trust is still rooted in the temporary. But when your peace is anchored in something deeper, unshakable, divine, then you don't break when the storm hits. You build through it. The immature spirit reacts. The mature spirit responds. The immature spirit says, "Why me?" The mature spirit says, "Use me." When life hits you with unexpected loss, betrayal, failure, disappointment, your first instinct might be to cry out for escape. But spiritual growth happens not when you run from the storm, but when you stand still in the storm and listen. Because that storm is not here to destroy you. It's here to develop you. And if you can stay calm in the chaos, you'll begin to see clearly. The things you used to fear no longer control you. The triggers that used to set you off lose their power. Because now your strength isn't rooted in your situation. It's rooted in your surrender. You can't fake peace. You can fake confidence. You can fake joy, but real peace, the kind that allows you to breathe deep, even when the future is uncertain, only comes from one place: trust. And trust is built in the tension. When you've been let down and yet you keep going. When you've been disappointed and yet you don't disconnect. That's where your roots grow deep. That's where your character is forged. That's where your faith becomes more than words. The world will always be chaotic. People will always disappoint. Plans will always change. But when your peace is internal, when it's spiritual, when it's grounded in the presence of God, not in the approval of people, you can endure anything. You stop blaming. You stop spiraling. You stop needing control. Instead, you start trusting the process. Not because it's easy, but because you know it's necessary. It takes maturity to not respond emotionally every time something doesn't go your way. It takes growth to sit in the silence and still believe something good is coming. It takes strength to walk forward when nothing around you confirms the vision in your heart. But that's where peace is found, in the fire, in the pressure, in the process. You stop needing instant results and start appreciating eternal development. You stop running from the hard and start leaning into it, knowing that everything you go through is preparing you for everything you prayed for. You no longer panic because you've already decided, no matter what happens, I will not be moved. Purpose doesn't scream. It whispers in moments of isolation, pain, and clarity. Silence is often the birthplace of transformation. So many people are chasing noise, looking for purpose in the spotlight and recognition and grand gestures. But the truth is, real purpose rarely shows up when you're surrounded by distractions. It emerges in those quiet moments when you feel like nobody sees you. It speaks when you've been broken enough to finally listen. It reveals itself not when you're loud and busy, but when you're still and surrender. Isolation isn't punishment, it's preparation. When everything is stripped away, when the noise dies down, when the people disappear, when the applause fades, that's when the real you starts to surface. That's when you hear the voice that's been speaking the whole time beneath the chaos. The reason so many people never discover their calling is because they can't stand the silence. They're afraid of being alone. But solitude isn't emptiness. It's sacred space. It's where clarity is born. It's where God speaks without competition. Purpose isn't found on the mountaintop. It's forged in the valley. In the late nights when tears hit your pillow. In the early mornings when doubt creeps in, but you choose to rise anyway. In the tension between where you are and where you're called to be. That's where it speaks. And it never shouts. It whispers. Because it wants your full attention. It wants intimacy. It wants alignment. That's why pain isn't the enemy. It's the invitation. It strips away the excess. It exposes what's fake. It reminds you that you weren't born to chase everything. You were born to fulfill something. There are seasons where nobody will understand your vision, where you'll feel like you're walking in circles, where nothing seems to be working. But that doesn't mean you're lost. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're being refined, cut, shaped, built from the inside out. It's in those seasons that you learn to stop depending on external signals and start trusting the internal compass God placed in you. You stop chasing validation and you start chasing obedience. You stop performing and you start becoming. The problem is too many people want to skip the silence. They want the platform without the process. But the process is where your roots grow. It's where your motives are purified. It's where your foundation is laid so that when purpose finally manifests, you don't crumble under the weight of it. Because purpose without preparation leads to self-destruction. But when you've been through the silence, when you've been through the pain, when you found clarity in isolation, you don't just carry purpose, you protect it. You move different. You speak different. You walk with the weight of someone who knows who they are. So stop looking for the loud moment. Start leaning into the quiet one. That whisper in your spirit, that pull in your chest, that unshakable conviction in your heart. There's purpose. And it's calling you to listen. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. The greatest lie is that someone else is responsible for your destiny. Your life is your assignment, not theirs. One of the most dangerous things you can believe is that your breakthrough, your healing, your growth, your greatness is in someone else's hands. That mindset keeps you waiting. It keeps you passive. It keeps you blaming. And as long as you believe that it's someone else's job to open doors for you, to believe in you, to push you, to make it happen for you, you'll never move with the authority you were born with. That lie robs people of power every single day. It creates a generation of people with potential, but no ownership. Nobody owes you your future. Nobody is required to invest in your dream. Nobody is obligated to carry your vision that was placed on you. That purpose, that burden, that calling, it was given to you, not them. And as long as you keep outsourcing your responsibility, you'll keep delaying your destiny. It's not your parents' fault. It's not your ex's fault. It's not your boss, your background, or your community. You have to wake up and realize this is your life. And if it's your life, then it's your fight. And if it's your fight, then it's your responsibility to win. Your destiny doesn't move when others move. It moves when you do. And when you take full ownership, when you stop waiting and start working, when you stop wishing and start walking, everything changes. You shift from victim to victor. You shift from hoping to becoming. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. Ownership is the key that unlocks progress. It doesn't mean things will be easy. It means you accept that no matter what comes, it's your job to grow through it, to learn from it, to rise above it, and to keep going. Too many people are waiting on motivation, waiting on someone to hold their hand, waiting on the perfect conditions. But greatness doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who work while they wait. It comes to those who stop asking for permission and start taking responsibility. You may not be able to control everything that happened to you, but you can control how you respond. You can control how you rise. You can control how you show up. This life is not a group project. Your name is on it. You will stand before God alone. You will give account for your gifts, your choices, your time, your voice. So why are you living like it's somebody else's decision? Why are you waiting for someone to come do the work that was assigned to you? The truth is, nobody's coming. Nobody's going to walk your path for you because they can't. It doesn't belong to them. It belongs to you. So stop looking around. Stop waiting for help. Look in the mirror. You're the answer. Your life is your responsibility, and your destiny begins the moment you take it. Detachment is not indifference. It's trusting God enough to surrender the outcome and still move with boldness. Too many people confuse letting go with giving up. They think if they're not controlling every detail, if they're not obsessing over every result, then they're not being responsible. But that's not surrender. That's stress disguised as strategy. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care so deeply that you refuse to let your emotions dictate your obedience. It means you've reached the point in your journey where you no longer chase results. You pursue alignment. There comes a moment where you have to make a choice. Will you live your life wrapped in anxiety, trying to force your will onto every situation? Or will you trust that there's a divine order at work, even when you can't see it? Detachment is spiritual maturity. It's when you understand that your job is faith and effort. God's job is outcome. You can plan, you can prepare, you can execute, but the result is never yours to control. And when you try to own the result, you're trying to sit in a seat that doesn't belong to you. This kind of detachment takes courage. It takes confidence. It takes a deep inner knowing that even if it doesn't happen the way you pictured it, something greater is still in motion. It means you walk into the room with your head held high, not because you know how it's going to turn out, but because you know who you are. You stop begging for closure, for validation, for constant reassurance, because your identity isn't tied to temporary outcomes. It's rooted in eternal truth. You can love deeply and still let go. You can serve faithfully and still surrender control. You can show up fully and still detach from how others respond. That's not weakness, that's strength. That's not quitting, that's wisdom. You stop trying to manipulate life and you start trusting the one who offered it. You understand that the doors meant for you won't need to be forced open. The people assigned to you won't need to be chased. The outcomes that carry your name won't miss you. And the failures that come, they're not there to punish you. They're there to prune you. When you detach from the outcome, you become unstoppable. You show up to the battle already victorious, not because of what's happening around you, but because of what's anchored within you. You no longer fall apart when things fall apart. You don't crumble under disappointment. You feel it, but you don't fold to it. That's detachment. That's the peace that surpasses understanding. That's the stillness that allows you to move boldly, even in uncertainty. So no, detachment isn't indifference. It's divine trust. It's believing that your assignment is enough. Your effort is enough and your obedience is enough. Regardless of the result, you let go. Not because you've lost faith, but because you've placed it in something greater than outcomes, greater than fear, greater than control. You've placed it in purpose. Confidence isn't built when you win. It's built when you decide to keep showing up without pause. Anybody can feel good when they're on top. Anybody can feel confident when the spotlight is shining and people are cheering their name. But what happens when the lights go out? What happens when no one sees the effort? What happens when you grind in silence and nobody says thank you, nobody notices, and nobody affirms what you're doing? That's where real confidence is built. Not in the moment of winning, but in the process of being faithful without recognition. True confidence is internal. It's spiritual. It's not based on what you accomplish. It's based on who you are becoming in the process. Every time you show up, despite fear, every time you push through, even when you're tired, every time you choose discipline over emotion, you are building something stronger than the applause could ever give you. You are building identity. You are building endurance. You are building a spirit that doesn't fold when things get quiet. That's the kind of confidence that doesn't shake when the results don't come. It stands firm because it was never rooted in results. It was rooted in commitment. The world teaches you to measure your worth by trophies, titles, followers, money, but God is developing you in the dark. He's developing your character, your resolve, your discipline. He's allowing you to walk through seasons where it feels like no one sees you. Not to break you, but to build something in you that the spotlight can't sustain. Because if your confidence is built on being seen, then the moment you're unseen, you'll collapse. But when your confidence is built in the secret place, in the quiet reps, in the silent obedience, nothing can take it away. It's easy to be consistent when the reward is immediate. But greatness is built by those who keep showing up even when the reward is invisible. That's where legacy lives. In the mundane, in the ordinary, in the repetition. It's when you wake up and go to war with your excuses. It's when you decide that even if nobody acknowledges your grind, you still grind because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it because you made a promise to yourself. You're doing it because you've tasted what quitting feels like and you never want to feel it again. Every day you show up without applause, your confidence grows deeper. It stops being about proving something and starts being about becoming something. Confidence is a decision. It's a mindset. It's a commitment to the process, not just the prize. So if you're in that silent season right now, don't despise it. Embrace it. Own it. That's where the foundation is laid. That's where warriors are forged. Not when they win, but when they refuse to stop, even when nobody's watching. That's real confidence. That's power. And that's what makes you unstoppable. You don't need saving. You need awakening. The version of you that you're looking for is locked behind your own excuses. You keep thinking the answer is outside of you, that someone's going to come along and pull you out of your pain, hand you a purpose, and give you the clarity you've been praying for. But the truth is, nobody is holding you back but you. Not your past, not your parents, not your environment, not your circumstances. It's the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't, why you're not ready, why you're not qualified. That's the real prison. And the worst part is, you've convinced yourself that this prison is safety. This staying stuck is easier than stepping into the unknown. You've put up walls and called them protection, when really they're just excuses wearing a mask. But deep down, you know there's more in you. You know you're not living at full capacity. You know that the version of you showing up today is only a fraction of what you're capable of. And that ache you feel, that discomfort, that heaviness, that's not depression. That's potential suffocating under procrastination. See, you keep waiting for permission. You keep waiting for the right time, the right people, the perfect plan. But purpose doesn't need conditions. It needs conviction. It needs you to stop playing blind to what you already know deep down. You've been called. You've been chosen. You've been equipped. You've already survived things that should have destroyed you. You're still here. You've already got proof that you were built for more. But it won't come alive until you do. That awakening, it starts when you get honest. When you stop blaming and start building. When you stop rehearsing your wounds and start rewriting your story. There's a lion in you, but you've been living like a lamb because you're afraid of what will happen if you stop hiding. You're afraid of failure, of judgment, of becoming more, because more requires responsibility. More requires change. But the truth is, you're already uncomfortable where you are, so you might as well grow through it. Nobody can do this for you. You got to wake yourself up. You got to shake yourself out of the slumber of self-pity. You got to stop entertaining thoughts that tell you you're too late, too broken, too far gone. Those thoughts are lies. They are not your identity. You are not your fear. You are not your trauma. You are not your mistakes. You are the one God chose to carry greatness in your generation. And that awakening begins the moment you stop waiting and start willing yourself forward. You don't need to be rescued. You need to remember. Remember who you were before the world told you to shrink. Remember who you were before you settled. Remember that fire, that vision, that hunger. It's still there, but it won't awaken through comfort. It awakens through commitment. So rise up, break the cycle, shatter the excuses. The version of you that you're looking for has been waiting on you to show up. Real strength is in restraint. When you can complain, beg, or blame, but instead you rise. It's easy to react. It's easy to speak out of anger, to vent your frustrations, to lash out when life feels unfair. But true strength doesn't scream for attention. It stands in quiet authority. It doesn't need to prove a point. It proves itself through discipline, through patience, through presence. Strength is not in how loud you are when things go wrong. It's in how steady you are when nothing is going right. When you have every reason to break down, every reason to point fingers, every reason to cry out in defeat, but you hold your ground and move forward, that's power, because restraint isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's maturity. It's the understanding that energy wasted on blaming and complaining could be used to rebuild, to reset, to rise. Some people think they're strong because they explode, but it takes far more strength to control your emotions than to be controlled by them. Restraint is choosing peace when chaos is within reach. It's responding with clarity when confusion surrounds you. When you stop needing to be heard and start choosing to be whole, that's when you've grown. When you stop begging for others to understand you and start standing in the truth of who you are, that's when you're walking in power. It's not always about saying what you feel. It's about knowing when silence speaks louder. It's not always about doing something big. It's about doing the right thing, especially when no one sees it. Strength and restraint is what separates those who react from those who rise. There are moments when you want to shout, "Why me?" Moments where life feels unfair. People turn their backs and the road ahead feels impossible. And in those moments, you'll be tempted to quit, to justify your retreat, to fall into self-pity. But if you can hold back, not from the pain, but from letting the pain shape your actions, then you are walking in real strength. It's when you keep your character intact while everything around you is trying to pull you out of alignment. It's when you choose grace instead of revenge, patience instead of pressure, vision instead of reaction. Strength is choosing the long path, the disciplined one, the quiet one. It's making decisions from purpose, not from pain. It's standing firm when everything inside you wants to collapse. It's holding your tongue when your pride wants to speak. That kind of strength builds legacy. It builds trust. It builds peace. Anybody can talk. Anybody can react. But few can rise with restraint. Few can walk through the fire and not let it make them bitter. The strongest people are not those who shout the loudest. They are the ones who can face the storm, hold their ground, keep their heart clean, and keep moving forward without compromising who they are. That is strength. That is power. That is restraint. Waiting on someone else is spiritual poverty. Ownership is spiritual wealth, and your soul is already rich. You were never meant to live in a state of dependency. Your design was never rooted in delay, waiting for someone to come activate the greatness that's already within you. When you live your life waiting for opportunities, for people, for a green light, you're handing over your spiritual authority. That kind of waiting isn't patience, it's passivity. And passivity will keep you spiritually broke, emotionally weak, and mentally paralyzed. Because the longer you wait, the more disconnected you become from your own power. God didn't create you to live off someone else's permission. He gave you dominion. He gave you breath. He gave you gifts. But if you're waiting for the world to see it before you start moving in it, you are already behind. The moment you choose to own your story, your flaws, your vision, your calling, that's the moment you tap into spiritual wealth. The spiritual wealth has nothing to do with status or titles. It has everything to do with stewardship. Can you take what you've been given and multiply it? Can you show up fully even when nothing around you is confirming what's inside you? Ownership means you stop saying, "I can't," because they won't. It means you stop rehearsing what went wrong, who didn't show up, who didn't believe. Ownership says whether they show up or not, I'm still called. It says whether they support or not, I'm still moving. It means you pick up the tools you have, even if they feel small, and you start building. Because you understand that waiting for rescue is a luxury you can no longer afford. You're not waiting on a sign. You're choosing to become one. When you step into ownership, your soul begins to expand. You no longer walk around empty, desperate, anxious for someone to notice you. You realize you already have enough. That spiritual wealth starts to manifest in how you carry yourself, in how you speak to yourself, in how you rise after failure. You're not waiting to be filled. You're overflowing. Not because everything is perfect, but because you finally realize your soul is not bankrupt. You're not lacking. You're loaded with potential, with grace, with wisdom, with grit. The world may not recognize it yet, but that's not your concern. Your job is to cultivate it, to protect it, to walk in it. People who wait never see the fullness of who they can become. But people who own it, own their process, own their pain, own their power. They step into rooms they weren't invited into. They break cycles they weren't supposed to escape. They build legacies out of dust. So stop waiting, stop doubting, stop shrinking. The spiritual poverty ends the moment you realize you've been rich the whole time. Stand up, take ownership. Your life isn't on layaway. It's available now and it's yours to live. So here it is. The truth you can't run from. The truth you must rise into. Nobody is coming to save you. And that's not a curse. It's a call to wake up, a call to rise up, a call to take back everything you've given away in fear, in doubt, in delay. You've waited long enough. You've hoped someone else would carry what was never theirs to carry. But today, that ends because you are the one who decides, the one who builds, the one who breaks the chain. You don't need a hero. You need hunger. You don't need more time. You need more truth. You don't need someone to light your fire. You need to remember you are the fire. You are the answer to the questions you keep asking. You are the solution to the excuses you keep making. You are the permission you've been waiting for. So no more waiting. No more watching. No more wondering. The time is now. The place is here. And the person is you. Take ownership. Embrace the silence. Detach from the outcome. Walk with purpose. And rise. Not because you're saved, but because you finally saved yourself.